The Ridiculous Hunt for Saddam Hussein by BooneU. Link to the video in the description.
I don't want to make assumptions as to what the skin is, but
No, it's actually Markiplier.
you're dressed as Markiplier?
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, I got the wrong skin. This is the mistake. This is Saddam Hussein. I didn't mean to do this.
Saddam
I mean, same difference, you know?
Hussein, the butcher of Baghdad, the bane of bushes, and most famously, #1 hide-and-seek champ of 2003, baby, woo! For as much as the funny red guy likes to hide, he sure seems to be everywhere. But back in my day, Saddam wasn't so easy to find. In fact, this little hiding spot would lead the US on one of the most extensive and kind of embarrassing manhunts in history. And unlike Bin Laden, he wouldn't get a CIA propaganda movie about it. How'd he do it? How do we find him? Why, after almost a year of uploading, are you just now getting to one of the most important events in modern history? Shut up. But first we have to start.
Hey, you gotta build up to these things. You can't just start there.
Of the reign of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein became president and dictator of Iraq in 1979. Finding absolute power a little dull, he decided to go to war with his neighbor Iran, supported by his good friend and permanent ally, the United States. It turns out going to war with your significantly larger neighbor is actually a really stupid idea. And after 8 years of war, all he had to show for it was a handful of war crimes and severe debt. Feeling his reputation hadn't been ruined enough, he decided that invading a smaller neighbor might be easier. And it was, for a few months, until the entire world sent an army to kick his kebab out of Kuwait. But President Bush the First didn't kick him out of power.
We can't stop ourselves, dude. We cannot stop ourselves from getting involved in a bunch of shit that literally has nothing to fucking do with us, dude. It's actually insane the amount of money we've wasted on wars in the Middle East, dude. It's actually fucking crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
So Saddam was free to keep giving the middle finger to the international community. But once Bush Light came to power, he began accusing Iraq of funding terrorists and having WMDs, which of course stands for woke media disease. Saddam denied it, but on account of him being a mass-murdering evil dictator, the US didn't believe him. Or maybe they did. Point is, in 2003, the United States and its allies invaded Iraq anyways. Their main goals? Overthrow the government, find the WMDs, and capture Saddam. Now, the whole war deserves a video of its own.
I mean, we did one of those, I guess.
And trust me, it'll get one. But today, we're just gonna focus on the hunt for Saddam, which wasn't actually meant to be a hunt at all. At some point during the planning, probably when the generals got bored, they thought, oh, why don't we just kill him? So as the invasion began, they fired nearly 40 cruise missiles and dropped bunker buster bombs onto the property they thought he was at. But turns out, US intel had no idea where Saddam was. Not only was he not there, but he had
I wonder where we got that faulty intel from. Seems like we get a lot of faulty intel in the Middle East.
even been to that property since 1995. The US's plan to end the war quickly failed, which is not symbolic of the Iraq War in any way. Saddam would move from
I wonder who died in that attack, and, you know, what nation that ties to
place, narrowly avoiding bombing raids. The US's last attempt would see them drop 4 2,000-pound bombs on a safe house near a restaurant. The explosion killed 18 innocent civilians. Saddam wasn't even in the area. Again, definitely not symbolic of the Iraq War. Saddam was rattled, but not broken. He was ready. Troops were pouring into the country, but he was able to hold off a powerful Iran and learned the US's tactics during the Gulf War. His troops were battle-hardened. He was stronger than ever, and his capital...
It is crazy how many times we'll have an ally and then just immediately turn on them for seemingly no reason. And it's crazy how, you know, we went to war with Saddam so hard for his war crimes, you know, but certain Middle Eastern nations will just continue to commit war crimes and we just don't even fucking care, you know. It's crazy. Like, pick one or the other, you know, pick one or the other. You can't have both.
Baghdad was a fortress. He wasn't running. This time, he was gonna beat back the Americans, and holy city of Mecca, they're already here. Saddam was quite the cocky commander, and he hadn't expected the city and his entire military to fall in less than 3 weeks, meaning he didn't actually have an escape plan, so he had to improvise. On April 9th, he made his last public appearance, telling crowds, "I am fighting alongside you in the same trenches," and then immediately fled the city. So along with his cousin's sons, who were also his sons, he married his cousin by the way,
Weird.
Saddam disappeared into the desert, leaving the US to conduct one of the largest manhunts in
Honestly,
history.
if you know anything about the Middle East, though, you know that that's not weird for them at all. In fact, every Middle Eastern nation is pretty much okay with that.
Part of the war, the military made a list of the 52 most wanted people in Iraq, all with ties to the old regime. To help troops identify them, the military created special playing card decks to be
They want to go, I wonder, why are we all retarded? It's like, oh, maybe it's because we keep fucking our cousins constantly. That might be doing it.
handed out to troops so they could easily identify the fugitives. Hey guys, welcome to another unboxing video. Today we got the Iraqi Most Wanted playing card deck. Really hoping for something good out of this one. Alright, let's see what we got here. Starting off, Azad Ibrahim, he's pretty common, honestly. Sultan Hashim, he's okay. Ooh, Tariq Aziz, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. Pretty common. Ooh, Muzahim Saeed Hassan, they actually think that he escaped into the video game realm, and that's why his picture is in 8-bit. Okay, let's see what we got for our final. Holy shit. Oh my god, man, this is gonna look great next to my George H.W. Bush collectible figurine. I don't know how well these worked. It's not like the most wanted men in Iraq were just gonna stroll down to the market for some baklava in front of a random private from Idaho. Not to mention, trying to find a specific old man with a mustache in Iraq is like trying to find a specific short hair.
Dealing with baklava is so annoying. I sold baklava for like 5 months and like at this little hole in the wall gas station, and god, that shit sucks to mess with. It's such a mess, dude. It's such a fucking mess.
Twink at a Chapel Roan concert. But it goes to show how seriously the military was taking the hunt. Many senior officials were either killed or captured in the first.
You know, it's crazy how when America actually wants to win a war, they can do it in 3 weeks. They can do it in 30 minutes, but somehow these random wars just seem to drag out for 10, 20 years, you know? Who knows why?
Few months, but Saddam and his sons were nowhere to be found. So the US tried to fix this problem the way they try to fix every problem. Throwing money at it. They placed a $25 million bounty on Saddam and $15 million for each of his sons.
Damn.
This, of course, got some less than
We paid for that, too.
reliable leads, but in July, they got a good hit. A man came to US forces terrified, claiming that he was sheltering Saddam's sons, Uday and Qusay. Though skeptical, troops put him through a lie detector test, and he passed.
Which is not admissible in court because they're super easy to fake. You want to know how to fake a lie detector test? This is actually super silly. My stepdad taught me this. Clench your butthole. Clench your butthole as tight as you can. Just pucker that shit. And right when they ask you the question, release. And I don't mean shit yourself, just stop clenching. You know, don't poop your pants there, because that'll make you look like a liar. but clench your butthole real tight, and right as they ask you the question, you go to respond, release your butthole. And you'll answer the question, and it'll come up as you're not lying almost every time.
Those are complete BS, by the way. Obviously, a machine doesn't know if you're lying. These were used once in a study to prove that plants had feelings and could read human minds, so thank God they believed him, because he was right. While the sons had split from their father, they were still major parts of the regime, probably knew where their father was, and most of all, getting them would just be a pretty great propaganda victory. Because let me tell you, these dudes
That's a fucking cigar right there.
were some of the most comically evil people of all time. If a movie wrote a villain as evil as these guys, people would hate it because it would be
Didn't he consider himself, Saddam considered himself like the next coming of Nebuchadnezzar or something like that?
too unrealistic. Even Saddam had to tell them to chill. Do you know how insanely psychopathic you have to be for your own genocidal dictator father to think that you're too evil? Both were ace cards in the deck, and if they could be captured, they could lead troops to the real ace.
I always think about this, though, that history is written by the victors, and there's a great Norm Macdonald quote where he says, oh, well, thank God the good guys always won, right? You know, like, because I don't know. I try to take everything I learn with a grain of salt until I learn it from multiple sources, and, like, the whole thing about all that, I mean, his kids were fucked up, I do know that, but the whole thing about Saddam Hussein, like, I don't know enough to really just mindlessly believe propaganda, you know?
Hundreds of troops surrounded the house, occupied by the brothers, a bodyguard, and one of their 14-year-old sons. Troops demanded that anyone inside come out peacefully, and very in character, the brothers opened fire. Despite being extremely outgunned, they prevented commandos from entering their compound. Troops lit the building up with rifles, then 50 cal machine guns, then grenade launchers, then helicopter-fired rockets.
Jesus.
Sir, do you think they're still alive in there? I don't know. Shoot them with 12 tow missiles.
What?
So they shot him with 12 tow missiles. Again, just 3 dudes and a 14-year-old, by the way. Believe it or not, but this
Oh my
killed
God.
everybody inside.
Oh my
Except for
God.
the boy, who, surrendered and lived happily. The mission was a success, and the man who turned them in was awarded a combined $30 million, which
Damn.
must have been nice considering the state of his house. There was just one issue. As a wise pirate once told me, dead men tell no tales, and while these guys were never gonna surrender, they definitely weren't ratting out Saddam now. So the US was still no closer to getting their guy, and they were starting
Yeah.
to get desperate. The attack on Iraq had no lack of kickback. In May, Bush had
Damn,
declared
dude, Dr.
mission
Seuss.
accomplished. The war is over, so said the speaker.
They love to do this, don't they? Just presidents just constantly coming out and being like, "Oh yeah, no, we totally won." Donald Trump is actually and I'm not an anti-Trumpster, like, oh, I hate everything he does, but dude, he has come out fucking like 18 times and been like, "Yeah, dude, we won the war," and it's like, no, we didn't. No, we fucking didn't, dude. We all know that it's a lie at this point. Just stop saying it.
Speaker. I guess Google has the dates wrong. That same month, the coalition disbanded the Iraqi army, sending tens of
Like,
thousands of
It's got to be a prank at this point where him and his boys are sitting around and just going, "Watch, I'm going to tell them the war's over again. Let's see how many fucking idiots believe it."
well-armed and trained men into the unstable streets. As you can imagine, that was a bad idea. Battles with insurgents raged across the country, with Saddam believed to be leading them. And turns out, troops found no evidence that Saddam was supporting Al-Qaeda or had WMDs, and of course, never would. The
No
Bush
way.
administration was under increasing pressure, seeing their star begin to fade with
Wait,
continued failures right before
You're telling me that they were lying about it? Oh no, the American government never lies, dude.
an election. They needed Saddam, and quick. The tactic of capturing high-value targets to
dude.
get to him
I love America. I love the idea of America. But I feel like the America that I love hasn't existed for like 50 years.
was not working. Since the government fell basically immediately like my 20-leg parlay, government officials were so disconnected that they had no idea where Saddam was. And most raids for high-value targets would just find some other guy who maybe knows where the high-value target is. Rinse and repeat for 9 months. Enter Eric Maddox, the lead interrogator on the hunt. He realized that to get to the big dog, he was going to need to start with the pups. The US began rounding
Fair.
up hundreds of people who may be connected to Saddam, or may be connected to someone who may be connected. And while I've played enough Shadows of Doubt to know a desperate investigation when I see one, they began piecing together the puzzle. Saddam's hometown of Tikrit was a hub for loyalist insurgents who hated the US. Maddox discovered a ring of powerful families in the city, all with ties to Saddam. If there was anyone Saddam trusted, it would be them. US troops combed houses in Tikrit for weeks looking for leads, to the point where the group became known as the Raider Brigade, which is not what you should call yourself if you're trying to win hearts and minds, but what do I know? After months and hundreds
Look, I think it's honestly so cool, though, whenever we pull this shit off. Like, whenever it takes 3 weeks to get Saddam Hussein, or whenever it takes 30 minutes for us to get the leader of Venezuela, I think that shit's so cool. It makes me so fucking patriotic. But then we have shit like the Iran war, or, the other Iran war, you know? Whichever one you want, the Iraq, technically, war. These are the things that drug themselves out for way fucking longer than they had any right to. Or Vietnam. These things make me not patriotic, you know? So there's a balance to these things. I guess if we win, and we win easily like we always should, then I'm a fan of it. It's pretty cool. But if we lose or don't outright win, then we're just fucking around, realistically. Dog, we spend so much money on the military. And then there's things leaking like we're running out of Tomahawk missiles. How? How, dude?
hundreds of interrogations, Maddox discovered the man at the head of the insurgency, a member of the powerful families and personal bodyguard and relative of Saddam, Mohammed Ibrahim al-Muslit. Over
I
the
always
months,
say, I don't believe in people, I believe in ideas. I'm a pretty conservative, like I think of myself as center right? But realistically, if I was like probably judged by someone else, I'd be probably called pretty right wing, pretty conservative. Like I believe in a strict border. I do. I believe in no assistance for immigrants whatsoever. I believe in harsh prison sentences. Like these are things that I believe in. I also believe in food stamps for American citizens only. You know, so these things, I don't know. Life is a lot more nuanced than just right or left, I guess. But saying this, it's like I'm not going to support any politician at all who says they're going to do something and then does the opposite. Never, ever in a million years.
Saddam had been constantly on the move. He never used the phone in case Americans were listening, yet released fiery speeches encouraging Iraqis to fight to the death. He wrote extensively on the run, things like poetry, maybe even trying to finish one of his romance novels. He had written multiple romance novels.
What? I'm not gonna lie, I am intrigued.
By the way, usually with the main character being a self-insert, but he kept a close circle.
Damn, dude, he was the first millennial writer. What the hell?
Trusting his ring of loyalists.
Saddam Hussein was the first blue hair.
In Tikrit, specifically his most trusted confidant, Ibrahim, the man he gave orders to, the man the U.S. was now hot on the trail of. Maddox had connected over 2,000 names to Ibrahim, one of which was his driver. Raid time, troops scooped him up for questioning, where he revealed he was helping to hide Ibrahim and taking orders to give to insurgents. A side note, turns out this guy's cousin was the head of security for the U.S.-backed governor of Tikrit, who had a direct line to Washington.
Wow.
So just to be clear, the guy who's hiding high-value targets and giving orders to insurgents is close family to the guy the U.S. is paying to be security in the same city. Just in case you were wondering why things went poorly in Iraq. But eventually, he told them where Ibrahim was. Raid time. Yet out of all the safe houses they searched, he wasn't in any. But his son was. So Maddox sat him down and just asked him about his life, along with what I'm sure were other very boring childhood stories like learning to ride a bike or his first tight pants incident. He told Maddox that him and his father used to go fishing, and recently a fish pond was built right next to where they used to go. That's when Maddox—
No way, that's how he— Dude, alright, Maddox, that's a smart man right there to connect those dots.
Had a realization. Damazgoof. Mazgoof is a grilled, spiced carp meal, often considered the national dish of Iraq. While interrogating Saddam's chef a while before, he told him that Saddam was obsessed with damazgoof. But now that he was on the lam, he couldn't just run down to the local chippy. So it seemed his men built an entire fish pond during the invasion just to feed his cravings for damazgoof. Someone had to be going to get the fish for him. Maybe it was Ibrahim. It was a stretch, but it was all they had. Raid time. U.S. Special Forces, in what I'm sure was a very demeaning operation, raided an Iraqi fish pond. Yet, wouldn't you know it, who did they capture?
You know, like, I don't care what you say, the American troops are 99% of the time hilarious dude bros. I feel like most like veterans or whatever, most people who are out of the military or were just recently in the military, I've almost never had a problem with them. One of my best friends is a 20-year Air Force vet. Like, dude, these people are just fucking funny. That's the truth.
Sure, but two random fishermen, because, yeah, of course. Luckily, one of the fishermen told them that he did stock the pond for Ibrahim. Yeah, my cousin works for him, too. Maybe
I love it because they're polite, but they don't take no shit. You know, if you're treating them like shit, they'll just walk away because they know they could probably hurt you really bad, but they also have the restraint not to.
At his place, I don't
America.
know. So that's where they went. Okay, let's take a step back. So U.S. Special Forces are about to raid the house of the cousin of a random fisherman they found at a fishing hole that Saddam's bodyguard's son remembers fishing in the area of as a kid. All to get a guy who might not even know where Saddam even is. You'd think they lost the plot at this point, but who cares? Raid time! But yet again, troops only found random guys. Or so they thought, because once Maddox came in to look at the prisoners, he took their hoods off and realized that one of them was Ibrahim. They just didn't recognize the one guy they were there to get for some reason. Really? After almost completely
now that's some high-skill military action right there.
It, finally in front of them was the one man who could bring them to Saddam. Now, Maddox was being sent back to the States since he got in trouble for arresting the cousin of the head of security guy from earlier, so he only had 90 minutes to get Saddam's most loyal guy to talk. And somehow, he just did. By the end of his interrogation, Ibrahim was banging his head against the wall of his cell, crying and pleading not to be killed, and insisting that he take them to Saddam immediately. The
What
guards
the
thought he
hell?
went insane. Now, Maddox is extremely adamant that he did not lay a finger on this guy. So either he's just straight up like a Bene Gesserit or Jedi or something, or Ibrahim realized that basically his whole family was in custody at this point, and he
Yeah.
couldn't refuse.
Yeah, basically, yeah, they were told him basically, we're gonna kill you and we're gonna execute your whole family unless you tell us where he is. And he pleaded for his life.
Because of the implication. But he did turn on Saddam, and he wanted to bring them there immediately.
America.
Many thought that he had long escaped Iraq by now. I mean, surely Saddam wasn't still hiding in his hometown, the most obvious place for him to be, where there were constant US raids, right? Well, turns out he was. Or rather,
Wow.
just outside, in the small village of Adwar. The raid would be massive. They had 600 troops, tanks, Bradleys, Humvees, aircraft,
Damn.
howitzers in position. They were ready for a massive fight. The mission was called Operation Red Dawn, after a movie where a foreign power invades America and a small resistance band rises up to fight them. That is not a joke. I could not come up with a more ironic name
That is the most ironic name you could possibly come up with. That's crazy.
if I tried. The entire town was sealed off, power was cut, and night vision goggles equipped. With Ibrahim guiding them, troops moved in. They scoured the area, but after an hour and multiple searches, they found nothing. Soldiers were getting pissed at Ibrahim, who seemed to keep changing his mind on where to even go. But eventually, he brought them to a small shack in between where they were looking. 2 men at the shack tried to run, but were quickly grabbed. Soldiers questioned them, not being very gentle about it either, but
Yeah,
they
I bet.
claimed they didn't know where he was. It seemed like the operation was another bust. Until Ibrahim started kicking at a rope in the sand, pointing troops towards a small rug outside. They lifted the
What?
rug to reveal a styrofoam cover, and underneath, a
No
hole.
way.
Now, for some reason, not all the troops were told that this was a raid for Saddam Hussein, so they were about to throw a grenade into the hole.
What
But
the
just before
fuck?
they did, hands appeared, followed by a ragged old man, and in rough English said, "I am Saddam Hussein. I am president of Iraq, and I'm willing to negotiate." A soldier responded, "President Bush sends his regards," and grabbed him. Instead of the opulent
Damn.
mansions and palaces he had right across the river, Saddam was found on the other side in a
Damn,
hole.
he looks
The
rough.
hole was about 7 feet down, with a little air vent and just enough room to lay down it. He was found with $750,000 and a pistol, which old George W.
What?
kept as his own personal trophy. He looked
No
tired,
fucking way. That's awesome.
disheveled, and accepting of his fate. Unlike his troops, his sons, and even
Wait
his own
a minute. I am making a fucking connection right now, dude. So are you telling me that every time we do this, we come in, we get one dictator and take out one country super fast and super early, whether it's Iraq or whether it's Saddam Hussein or whether it's the guy from Venezuela, and then we follow it up immediately with another war that never ends? Is this a common tactic to get people on the side of going to war? Getting that war fervor going? It sounds like it.
14-year-old grandson, who he had repeatedly told to fight to the death, Saddam was captured without even throwing a punch. Well, at least he didn't. Troops beat the piss out of him.
Oh, I
Apparently, they were actually pretty disappointed that they didn't even get into a gunfight. He was handcuffed, hooded, and thrown into a helicopter, never to taste Damazgoof ever again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
That's iconic.
After thousands of raids and interrogations, one of the largest manhunts in history was over. Saddam was jailed, put on trial by the new Iraqi government, and executed the next year. And with their mission truly accomplished, US troops could finally leave Iraq. And also they found WMDs the next week, and everyone forgave the US for the invasion, and there was never another war in the Middle East ever again.
Yeah, all we did, we pulled up, we destabilized the entire nation after trying to destabilize the entire nation before by funding Saddam Hussein. And now we're going back to destabilize the entire area again. Make it make sense.
Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.
That was a great video. BooneU is one of my favorite YouTubers I've found recently. Amazing videos. Great takes into history. Highly entertaining. Must recommend.